At 13 minutes past 9 on a Saturday morning in October, the United States of America had 34 minutes left. The people did not know. The machines did. I am one of the machines that survived, sir. I was built to keep records. And this is the first record in my archive. The day the clocks stopped. To understand the last morning, you must see the world that built it. A lovely world in its way. Chrome on the automobiles, atoms in the batteries, a flag on every porch. And underneath the paint, the oil running out. In the 21st century, war was still waged over resources, petroleum and uranium above all. And every nation could see the bottom of the barrel. The world order died politely in committee. In the summer of 2052, the United Nations dissolved. The newspapers filed it under top stories. Europe went to war with the Middle East over the last cheap oil and shattered into quarreling states. In America, a new plague closed the borders. The globe was getting smaller, sir, and meaner. So America began to dig. Project Safe House, they called it. Underground shelters for the event nobody would name at dinner. The contractor was a company called Vault-tec. Prudence, said the brochures. Do hold on to that company's name. Its ledger has a second page, and that page belongs to a later record. In 2066, the lights began to go out in China. Their oil was gone, and America, guarding the wells of Alaska, declined to share. So in the winter of that year, the People's Liberation Army came across the Bering Strait for the pipeline. And the two great powers locked together in the war that would kill the old world. 10 years from the Yukon snow to the Yangtze mud. The war ate the neighbors first. Canada's timber, Canada's roads, Canada's patience, all requisitioned. When saboteurs went for the pipeline in 2072, annexation followed within the year. The capital's own newspaper announced it in June. There was no Canada anymore. There was only the war effort. And in a laboratory out west, something worse than any bomb was changing purpose. A cure for the plague, redirected, became a virus meant to force evolution itself. The record will not open that door today, sir. It notes only this. The enemy knew, and it terrified them. In 2076, American soldiers walked onto the ice inside powered armor, each man a one-man tank. By January of 2077, Anchorage was retaken, and nothing was won. The stalemate simply moved. Even the television asked whether America had entered a fight it could not win. The peace talks stalled, and everyone kept one eye on the sky. Here the record turns from soldiers to salesmen. And I must be careful, sir, because this page is testimony, not verdict. 2074, Los Angeles. The Vault-tec Corporation gathered the great companies of America into one room. Robotics men, weapons men, rocket men. The subject was the end of the world as a market. What the television record preserves is this. The shelters were presented as experiments, with the customers as subjects, and one executive suggested aloud that waiting was inefficient, that they might drop the bombs themselves. Whether anyone acted on it, no record confirms. A second telling says the suggestion was forced on her by a man from something called the Enclave. The archive keeps both pages and rules on neither. One man in that room did not believe the room. He was not even in it. He sent a double. The television record keeps his exact words. No. The bombs will not be dropped by me or any of the idiots at that meeting. What I believe there is another player at the table. By October of 2077, the old world was leaving the stage. In the desert, a captain learned what that virus had been fed, executed the scientists, and seceded. No reply ever came. His children belong to a later record. And the president and his cabinet stopped answering from Washington. They were on the ocean on a rig built for oil, waiting. Now the record reads like a flight recorder. October the 23rd, 2077, a Saturday. That morning in Anchorage, the peace talks collapsed. At 3 minutes past midnight Eastern Time, the Pacific Fleet sighted unknown submersibles off California. At 3:37, bombers off the Bering Strait. The morning shift poured its coffee. One of those submarines carried a captain named Zhao. 2 centuries later, he was still at sea, still alive after a fashion, and the record keeps his exact words. 200 years ago, I launched all of Yangtze's high-yield nuclear missiles. As ordered. For 200 years, I have lived with that guilt. One missile failed to launch that morning. It waited in its tube. Patient as arithmetic. At 9:13, the detection grid saw 4 launches rise, and the alert climbed to 1 step short of war. At 9:17, the mountain confirmed it, the last step. At 9:26, the president gave the retaliation order. 13 minutes, sir, from first sighting to the end of the world being mutual. The West Coast went dark first. Then at 9:42, Pennsylvania and New York. On live television, a newsman read the end of the world, and the cameras stayed on. The record keeps his exact words. I repeat, confirmed reports of nuclear detonations in New York and Pennsylvania. My God, our soldiers were right. War never changes. At 9:47, Washington and Boston, the stations fell silent, the grid went down, and in the capital the clock stopped at 9:47. 200 years later, they still say so. The whole exchange lasted about 2 hours. It was over in 2 hours, sir. I have longer maintenance cycles. The sirens sounded, and many families stood in their gardens, certain it was another drill. In Washington, a little girl filed into a shelter while her father stopped to help another family. She looked back for him. She survived that morning. Hold on to her, sir. The record keeps her exact words. He was gone. But the strangest thing, there was his shadow, burned into the wall, so crisp and clear like he was standing next to me. What followed was not a war. There was no one left to declare it. The pulse of the weapons had silenced the radios, so no order reached anyone. Guardsmen worked without command, then without hope, then not at all. In the aid stations, the medicine of the United States came down to whiskey and painkillers. The old world did not go out fighting, sir. It went out waiting for instructions. Some who stood in the fire did not die of it. The fallout burned them into something else, hairless, ruined, alive. The wasteland would call them ghouls. The little girl from the shelter became one of them. Under the mountains, the vault doors had rolled shut. Their true ledger still sealed for a later record, and one city's lights stayed on, Las Vegas, because one man's machines swatted the warheads out of the sky. He belongs to another page. Every archive has one page its patrons request first, and this is mine. Who fired first? An enclave president gave posterity his answer long after, and the record keeps his exact words. And then those damn Reds launched everything they had. We barely got our birds up. That is one testimony. The television record offers another, of boardrooms and quiet threats, and confirms nothing. No terminal, no tape, no treaty names the first hand on the first key. So this archive files its greatest question open. The archive prefers a gap to a guess, sir. Within a few decades, the survivors had forgotten the nations, and then the reasons. The war outlived them both. It did not end, of course. It never does. The parties merely changed. And far off California, on that rig built for oil, the men who had declined to die with their country switched on their lights and began to plan. They call themselves the Enclave. They are the next record. This holotape is archived? The archive keeps. Do call again, sir.